This video will cover a sorting algorithm called a selection sort. Now again, the purpose of this particular exact implementation of this selection sort is to sort a selection of numbers in ascending order. That's what all these videos are going to cover. And in fact, there's the array that we're going to sort. You've seen it before. Now, the selection sort is based on the idea of going through all of the collection of data, traversing it, and finding where in that collection of data is the lowest value, and then moving that value to the beginning of the array. And then moving through the rest of the array that hasn't yet been placed, and figuring out which value is the lowest, and moving out to the next place towards the beginning of the array, and so on and so forth. The best way to see it is just to dive through the code and watch it work. So let's do that. I've put the code up here, and on the left I have the variables that we're going to use. So let's act like the computer, do one step at a time, and see what happens. First thing we're going to do is declare an array of integers. We're going to call it nums, and we're going to initialize it. You've seen that before. So now we have an array with values 5, 2, 1, 7, and 6. Remember, those are indices 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're even going to put that up here again just for ease of understanding. Okay, good. Next thing we do is we declare an integer called min position. This is which element of the array holds the lowest value, the minimum value. What position in the array has the minimum value? We initialize it, but we declare the variable, but we don't set a value to it yet. We're going to do that later. Then we declare a variable called temp. It's an integer variable. Again, we don't initialize it with a value. Now we set up a for loop. I want to point out a thing about these for loops. First of all, this would be called an outer loop. You can see the beginning and ending of the loop right here. And here is an inner loop. We'll get into how that loop works later. But the other term I want to cover here, we haven't used it before, is called code blocks. Everything inside the open bracket and the closed bracket here, these curly braces is another term for them, is one giant code block. But inside here are smaller code blocks, just a chunk of code. For example, this for loop, which begins here and ends here, is a code block inside it. And this chunk, this if or conditional statement down here, is a code block. So that's a code block. That's a code block. The overall loop is a code block. It's just a loose term describing a related or connected set of instructions in your program. Good, so there's that. Let's start diving through the code. We're setting up a loop, and we're setting up that loop right here. You've seen this construct before. The statement for, and then in parentheses, all the data about the for loop. We initialize, declare and initialize a variable called counter. We set it to 0, so we can fill that in. There's a 0 here. We create the conditional that shows what we're going to actually run the loop on, and that's if the value of counter is less than the length of our array minus 1. Length of our array minus 1 is 4, because length is 5, minus 1 is 4. And it shows right here, what do we do every single time we actually finish executing this loop? You've seen that before. Let's dive into the loop. And in fact, we're going to dive in the loop because it's like we're actually executing this code. Why are we going to dive into the loop? Because counter is 0 and it's less than 4. Once you're inside the loop, now we actually set a value for min position, this integer that we declared up here. We're going to set it to the current value of counter. Counter is set to 0, so min position is 0. Okay, good. Now, we're going to then set up another for loop. In this for loop, we have an integer that we're going to use as the counter. This integer is called index. Index is set to the value of counter plus 1. Right now, counter is 0, counter plus 1 is 1, so index is set to 1. This is the conditional statement we're going to base our loop on. Is index less than the length of our array? The length of our array is 5. Index right now is equal to 1, so it's definitely less than, so we're going to execute the loop. Let's get inside the loop. Now here's an if statement. This if statement is looking for values at certain positions inside that array. The value of index right now is 1. Value of min position right now is 0. What are the values of those positions? Well, nums at position 1 is a 2. And then nums at position 0 is a 5. So is 2 less than 5? Yes, it certainly is. Oh, then we're going to execute this little code block inside the if statement. What it does is it sets the value of min position to be equal to whatever index is. Because we found where the lowest spot is so far, the lowest value so far as we traverse through this collection. So min position was equal to 0. Now we're going to make it equal to the value of index. Index is 1. So now min position is equal to 1. Good. We're done with that if statement right here. And we're done with this loop. So when you're done with this loop, you do this. You increment index. Index is equal to 1. So we're going to make index equal to 2. OK, good. Excellent. So is 2, the current value of index, less than 5, the length of our array? Because you don't want to go past the end of the array. That doesn't make sense. Yes, as a matter of fact, 2 is less than 5. So let's do this loop defined right here and here. Here's the if statement. We're looking now for values in the array. And we have a value at index of 2 and a value of min position at 1. So what is the value of nums at position 2? It's 1. And what's the value in the array at position 1? It is 2. Is 1 less than 2? Yeah, it is. Hey, look, we found another lower number. So we are going to, in fact, execute this if loop because we met that condition right here. Oh, sorry, we're not if loop, if statement. We're going to execute the if statement. And all it does is it takes min position, which currently is equal to 1, and it sets it equal to the value of index. Index is equal to 2. So our minimum position variable is now 2. OK, good. Now we're done executing this if code block, and we are done executing this loop for right now. So we go and we increment index by 1. Index now becomes 3. And we check, is index, which is equal to 3, less than 5? Yeah, 3 is less than 5. So we are going to do this loop one more time. Now we're checking values again. We're looking at, in the nums array, index is now equal to 3. And then min position, that's a nice 3, Eric, there. Let's try that again. Index is equal to 3. And then min position is equal to 2. So what are the values there? At position 3, we have a 7. And at position 2, we have a 1. Is 7 less than 1? No, it isn't. So we do not execute this. We're not executing that if block. Now we've reached the end of that loop. So we go over here and we increment index again. Index add 1 from 3 to 4. So we check our conditional. Is 4 less than 5? Yes, it is. So we're going to execute the loop again. Now we're going to go in here. We're going to check again. We're basically just saying, hey, have I found a new low? So index is equal to 4. And min position is still equal to 2. So values. What's the value of position 4? It's 6. What's the value of position 2? It's 1. Is 6 less than 1? No, sorry, it isn't. So again, we do not execute this. Min position stays the same because remember, this is storing for the elements of this array that we have not yet moved into proper position. Where is the lowest value? It's at position 2. So we don't execute this. We pop out to here, and we're done executing this loop. So we go here, we increment index. Index is from 4 to 5. Is 5 less than 5 on our conditional? No, it's not. 5 is equal to 5. So we do not execute the loop. Instead, we're done with this loop. So now we're right here. Now we have an if statement. Remember, all of this we've done so far is inside this other outer loop. We're still inside this. They call it nested loops, by the way. This loop is inside an outer loop. Inner loop, outer loop, nested loops. So now we have this code block to look at. And it's an if statement. And it says if min position, which is currently equal to 2, this means not, and this means equal. Not equal. It compares on both sides for non-equality. So, for example, 5 not equal to 7. That would be true. 5 not equal to 5. That would be false. Because, in fact, they are equal. Good. So, what this is doing right here is saying, well, counter is equal to 0. Is 2 not equal to 0? Yeah. Well, then guess what? We're now going to execute what's inside this if. If you need to take a moment and look at that, please do so. This is an if. It's a conditional statement. This is the thing it's checking as a condition. It's checking if everything inside these parentheses is true, then I execute the code inside my if statement. It's true that 2 does not equal 0, so we are going to execute this code block. So now let's execute it. Temp. Oh yeah, temp. Forgot about that. We didn't even assign it a value. Now we're going to. We're going to set temp equal to the value in the array at position 0, because counter is equal to 0. What's the value in the array at position 0? It's 5. So we're going to make temp equal to 5 just for now. We're temporarily storing the value. Next, we're going to accomplish a bit of overwriting inside our array. You saw this on an earlier video. The value at position 0, right there, we're going to make it equal to whatever's in the value at position 2, where we found our lowest number. Position 2 has a 1, so we're going to make position 0, right here, into a 1. Remember, counter is equal to 0, so in the array at position 0, we set the value equal to whatever's at position 2. We did it. But now, we lost our 5. You saw that in an earlier video. So we fixed that by putting the value at position 2 equal to our temp. Temp held 5. So position 2 right here equals 5. Look at our array. We found the lowest element in the array and put it at the beginning of our list. And now we get to go through and do it all over again. Because what's happened here is we've executed this code block after the if, because we did meet our conditional statement. And we are now done with one iteration, one time through this outer loop, finally. So what do? You increment counter. Counter now becomes from 0 to 1. So we check our conditional. Is counter, which is 1, less than 4? Yeah, definitely. So we're going to execute the loop again. Min position now equals counter. Counter is 1, so min position is also equal to 1 because of that statement right there. Now we look at this for loop. We're going to set index equal to counter plus 1. Counter plus 1 is 2, so index becomes 2. What you can see here is we're just going to apply the same logic to everything to the right of element 0. Why? Because we've already put the lowest number in element 0. We're handled. Now we need to scan through the rest of these numbers, find the lowest one, and put it in the right position. Those of you who are thinking ahead are going to realize that nothing's going to happen on this time through because it's already there. The computer doesn't know that yet, though, so our algorithm makes sure the computer does it properly. So let's go through this. We set min position equal to counter. So counter is 1, min position is 1. Now we've got the for loop. We set index equal to counter plus 1. Index is equal to counter plus 1. And now we're going to check our conditional. Is index less than 5? 5 being the length of our array. Yeah, index is 2, so it's definitely less than 5. So now we do the loop. Now we do a little bit of comparison. You're used to this. Index is equal to 2. Min position is equal to 1. The values are 5 and 2. 5 is not less than 2, so we don't execute the if statement. We're done with this. We increment index. Index goes to 3. That means our conditional, because 3 is less than 5, we execute the loop. But we do it with different positions in the array. Index is now equal to 3, and min position still equal to 2. Sorry, 1, still equal to 1. Good. So what's the value at 3? Well, it's 7. Okay, over here. Min position 1, the value is 2. Is 7 less than 2? No, absolutely not. So we do not execute this statement. We reach the end of the loop. We increment index. Index becomes 4. Is 4 less than 5? Indubitably. 4 is less than 5, so we execute the loop. Here's our if statement. Position at 4, position at 1. What's the value at 4? It's 6. What's the value at 1? It's 2. 6 less than 2. No, it's not. So again, we do not execute this block. Now we reach the end of the loop. We increment index. Index goes from 4 to 5. And is 5 less than 5? No. We're done executing this loop. We pop down to here, we check this if statement. So what's the value of min position? Min position is 1 right now. What's the value of the counter? The counter is 1. So is 1 not equal to 1? Actually, those are equal, so we're not going to execute this code block. So now we've hit the end of this outer loop, another time through the outer loop. So what do? We increment counter. Counter goes plus 1. It becomes 2. We check our conditional. Is 2 less than 4? Yes, it is. So we execute this loop one more time. We set min position equal to counter. Well, if counter is equal to 2, that means min position is equal to 2. Then we set up another loop. We set the variable index equal to counter plus 1. Well, here's counter plus 1 is 3, so index becomes 3. And again, you can see we're going to search from here forward, these last elements in the array. So we set index equal to counter plus 1. We check our conditional. Is index, which is currently equal to 3, less than 5? In other words, are we at the end of the array or not? We are not, because 3 is less than 5, so we execute the loop. First thing we do is we check this conditional, checking values inside the array. Index right now is equal to 3. Min position is equal to 2. So what's the value of position 3? It is 7. What's the value of position 2? It's 5. Is 7 less than 5? No. So we don't execute this. We've hit the end of an iteration through the loop. So we increment index. Index add 1 from 3 to 4. Check our conditional. Is 4 less than 5? It is. So we execute the loop again. Now we're checking values. What positions? Well, index is equal to 4, so position 4. Min position hasn't changed, it's 2. So what's the value of nums of position 4? It's a 6. Position 2 is a 5. So 6 less than 5. No, it's not. So we don't execute this if block. We've gotten to the end of this loop. We increment index. Index goes from 4 to 5. So is 5 less than 5? Nope, it's not. So we're done with that loop. We go down to here. Now we've got this if statement right here. Well, what's the value of min position? Right now, min position is equal to 2. What's the counter equal to? Counter is equal to 2. Oh, hey, we're checking. Is 2 not equal to 2? Actually, that's not true. So we're not going to execute this. We now hit the end of another time through the outer loop. So we increment the counter. Counter goes from 2 to 3. All right, good. So counter is 3. All right, so let's check our conditional. Is 3 less than 4? Yes, it is. Now we're inside this loop again. Good. Min position equals counter. So counter is 3, so min position equals 3. Great. So here's the loop we're going to set up, this inner loop. Index is now equal to counter plus 1. Counter is 3, so plus 1 is 4. Index becomes 4. Okay, good. So is 4 less than 5? Yeah, so we can execute this loop again. We're going to check values inside this array. So index is 4. Min position is 3. All right, so what's the value at 4? It's 6. What's the value at 3? It's 7. Is 6 less than 7? It is. Now we're going to execute this if statement. Okay, good. So we set min position equal to index. If index is 4, min position now becomes 4 because we found a lower value. Okay, good. Awesome. So min position becomes 4 right here. We're done executing that if statement. We're done with another time through the loop. So we go and we increment index. Index goes from 4 to 5. Check our conditional. Is 5 less than 5? Not today. So we're done executing this for loop. Now we're down here outside of that loop. And we continue with this if statement. What's the value of min position? It's 4 right now. Good. What's the value of counter? Counter is 3. So is 4 not equal to 3? Yes, 4 is not equal to 3, so we do execute this code block here in the if statement. First thing we do is set the value of temp to whatever is the position counter. Well, counter is 3. So position 3 is 7. So we set our temp variable to 7. All right, next thing, whatever is at position counter, i.e. position 3, we make it equal to whatever is at position min position, or 4. So whatever's in position 4, which is a 6, we make position 3 equal to that 6. Okay, good. And then, next statement, whatever's at position 4, we make it equal to temp. Temp holds 7. So position 4, we make it 7. And now we've reached that point that we saw in an earlier video where guess what? You can tell we have in fact sorted this array from lowest to highest. But we're not done yet because the computer just blindly follows instructions. So the computer gets to the end of this code block here, this if statement. It realizes, oh, at the end of this outer loop, I have to increment counter. Counter goes from 3 to 4. Okay, good. So counter is 3, 4. Okay, is 4 less than 4? No, it's not. So I'm done executing this outer loop, and now I'm done with the whole thing, and I have a properly sorted collection of integers. To reinforce it again, this is one example of implementing a desired behavior called sort ascending on collection of integers. The collection of integers, the array, is a data structure, a data type, and it has a desired behavior of sort ascending, and we have implemented that. We've done it in a completely different fashion than the insertion sort. It's a selection sort, but it got the job done, didn't it?